All right, guys. So let me turn off my classical music. Welcome all, and let's get this party started, shall we? So, round of applause, por favor, for Mr. Malik Yoba.
¿Qué pasó, Bella? ¿Todo bien?
Todo bien. I'm so happy to see you, man. You don't know, it's been so long.
And you don't age. How you looking? How you 50 years old looking like that?
All the Malta. I drink a lot of Malta. There's my secret.
I haven't had Malta in years.
I'm sure. I still listen. It's hard to get it out here in Nevada, but I find my Malta. I can't live with my Malta.
Do you literally drink Malta all the time?
I literally drink Malta. It's easy to find the Goya. It's hard to find the India, but yes, I have Malta in my fridge. I'm not playing.
I have not had Malta in years, but yeah, as a kid, you shake it up, get the bubbles, act like you're drinking beer.
So whoever's watching doesn't know Malta is very, very.
I don't think we should tell them. They gotta look
No,
it up.
they gotta look it up.
And
Okay,
it's
so
not Malta, the country. Malta. It's Malta, tú sabes.
right, it's Malta. Like listen, I could become a vegan. I could eat healthy every week, but I'm still gonna have a Malta. Doesn't
You
matter.
should.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna have. So welcome, Malik Yoba. I'm so happy that you're here. I want to be completely honest with people. We do know each other. Okay,
No, we
this
don't.
isn't
I've never
like
seen you in my life.
yes, you have. I mean, yes, you
I
have.
haven't seen you since I feel like it's like 2015 or something like that. 16. It's been a long time.
Many years
Yeah.
ago. Many years ago. And I'm gonna talk about that because I was telling the people that I'm gonna talk about our meeting and what you mean to me and it's stuff that you don't even know because we haven't discussed this. We met like on, on some business, you know what I mean, which was amazing at that time, but you don't know how I felt. And I'm not the type to be like, oh my God. I kept the poker face, right? When we met, I kept the professional, right? I was like, took care of my business. So let's get started. First of all, Mr. Man, I feel like interviewing you, I don't have to interview anybody else for the rest of the year because actor, musician, producer, director, writer, real estate developer, inspirational speaker. You check all the boxes. That's it. I could end my interviews this year just with you. Okay, that's a lot. Okay. So I
I
want to
think
go
you got to add crazy to that.
crazy.
There's no way you could do the things that I do if you aren't like, partly insane.
That's interesting because I was going to touch on that about artists later. So you are correct, sir. I think people forget that when they look at artists, right? But we're going to get into that. So let's start at the very, very beginning. You and I met, and this was very special to me. And I'm going to get through this without tears, I promise you, because I'm a
I just
G.
have to say, you look incredible.
Thank you.
You always do, but it's just really, we're going to blame it on the Malta, but it's amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I don't know. I always tell people I think I meant to do something great and something somewhere is preserving me. And I think that's what it is. So I'm just gonna give it to the universe and run with it. Cause I don't have any, beauty regimens. I don't eat special diets. I'm rice and beans and pernil and malta. I'm still there. I'm growing, but I'm still there. That's still rice and beans, right? That's still my favorite. So thank you. I appreciate you so much for saying that. I'm trying. So you and I met, sir. Okay, and this is very very special to me, especially in this industry. And like I said, I'm gonna get through this without tears, but it's something that's very special to me. You approached me on a very professional level. Always kept it professional with me. Um, it affected me very very in a special way because in this business, I could count on one hand. I've been doing this on and off, right? 10, 15 years on and off. But I could count literally on one hand the men that have approached me professionally, always kept it professional, did not make me feel like less than, did not make me feel like you're the woman in the room. So what you're saying is not important. I felt safe, which is something that women don't feel a lot around, in a room full of men. I did not know what I was walking into when you had invited me to the summit. Just so you guys know, Malik did a summit some years back, and invited me as an influencer, as a social media influencer. So I had no idea what I was walking into, but the event was very special. You had, some other guys there that were celebrities that I don't have to name. You guys have to look it up. But they were also serving as mentors that day. And a lot of what they said really, really stuck with me up until this day. So I just wanted to mention that it's hard for women in this industry. I don't think people understand, they throw around pretty privilege a lot, but it comes with a lot of negativity. Like I walk in with a script or a story, the guy is thinking, how can he get me into bed? And I'm just going to be frank. How can he get me into bed? Okay, I like your story now. What are you doing later on at 6? And it's something that to this point I expect all the time now. It's like, okay, it starts out professional and I literally time it. Okay, by the time sun goes down, he's going to start hinting to what am I doing later? He likes how I look, et cetera, et cetera. And it just happened.
Did you have to wear the fake engagement ring at some point? Did you do that?
No, but I have said crazy things like I'm pregnant or I'm married when I wasn't, or I have a boyfriend when I didn't. I had to say things like that. I also, behave more abrasive than I would on a daily, or I've literally said things to turn men off, right? Because I feel like if I turn a man off in business, he'll look past, the aesthetic.
What's give us some of your secrets. What's something you would say as a turnoff?
Oh, I would say like I'm an atheist, right? I say I'm an atheist, even though I am.
But you mean when you're like meeting with TD Jakes? Like when?
Yeah.
Who cares if you're an atheist if he's horny?
Let me tell you, people care.
In fact, women bring men closer to God.
No,
Lord, look at her. Jesus Christ, if I could just get a piece of that.
No.
Mercy.
People are very, very serious about their God, right? And they're conditioned to think if you're an atheist, you must be of the devil, right? So that's a turnoff to some people. Like, what? Okay. I can't bring you to church with me? Like, my mother would hate you.
Right. Oh, that. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
So I
just never heard that one as like a first. What's your first line of defense to a horny dude? I'm an atheist.
My first line of defense.
Apparently, neither do you.
I try. I have a man. I try that, but that doesn't work very well anymore. I've tried the I'm gay. I've tried the I'm celibate.
That's fucking horrible. Well, I'm aware of that. Look, your beauty isn't lost on anyone. So, thank you for that acknowledgement. But that's also important to me. Mm-hmm. It's important that I have daughters, I have sisters. I mean, look, man, I have a hard time with dudes that use their position to take advantage of anybody. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll just leave it there. I just have a hard time when anyone does that.
Right.
I was late. I'm on a board of a school in Boston, and we were having a board meeting, and we're just dealing with that same thing, just adult egos and power struggles and humans. But you're welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm telling you, it's unforgettable, and it's something that I always tell my friends and my family when your name comes up. I was like, let me tell you about my experience with Malik Yoba. So I always bring that up. I want to let's start at the beginning. Okay, everybody, people in the chat, New York undercover. So
I don't want to go backwards. Because I've been doing interviews for too long. If people want to know in the beginning, they can research it somewhere. I don't want to do that today.
We can't talk about what it meant to me.
You mean the beginning of you and I meeting?
No, I mean me watching the show in general.
Yeah. You can talk about it. Go ahead.
Okay, so back in the late 80s, 90s, man, hip hop is the soundtrack of our life. You're from New York, right?
The Bronx, specifically.
The Bronx. Okay, the Bronx. I said specifically. So, back then there was so much music anti-police, right? And we were listening to it. The F the police and the black cop and the sound of the police, right? And that's where we were, right, with the police. And then came New York Undercover. And everybody wanted to be the detectives from New York Undercover. So you inspired, I feel, a lot of people to not only look at the police differently, but want to be part of the police department because you guys made it look so freaking cool. And prior to that, we had never seen cops that we could relate to. So that was very special for me. Not only that, it was us on the screen. And this is going to be embarrassing, but I still remember Thursday, 9 o'clock Fox. It is the only time slot that I freaking remember for the rest of my life. I know I'm nerding out right now. But yeah, it's like I can't forget the time slot. It was like a staple in my home every Thursday, 9 o'clock Fox. We're watching New York Undercover. I don't care what what anybody else is doing. That is what we're doing. So it was very special to me and a lot of other people. And I guess that's why it always comes up. Now, let me ask you this. Do you feel...
Well, when you said the beginning, I thought you meant like as a kid, like what made you want to act and all that shit. Yeah.
Oh, no. Wait, no. We fast forwarding. So, but do you feel a ways when people bring up like, hey, let's talk about that show versus your current work, or do you understand the nostalgia?
No, listen, man, to be part of anything that's classic is some rare and extremely dope shit. Like, how many people could say they were part of classic anything, but let alone television and culture? So no, man, I wear that with a badge of honor. It's just interesting when you do television because you are in people's homes and it is so personal. When they don't see you in that capacity, a lot of times people don't know where to look or what happened or whatever. It's a little easier now because we got social media. But no, man, I mean, Cool Runnings, New York Undercover, like in order of like impactful cultural projects, from New York Undercover to Cool Runnings to Arrested Development to Girlfriends, Empire, those five, that's mostly, they're different levels, right? Why They Get Married movies, from the broadest audience kind of stuff to more specific Black, Latino, to women. Yeah, it's just good to be part of classic shit.
What did you, I have to ask for all the Bronx kids, you're in the Bronx, right? What inspired you to want to act? Because I have a story too of myself, but what inspired you to act? Why did you look on TV and be like, I need to be...
It wasn't television. I didn't have a TV growing up. My father refused to put a television in the house because he called it the idiot box and the boob tube. So my house was filled with books. There was a lot of reading. We were very literate family in that way. We had to write. He would take us to see like documentaries on... It's probably why I actually watch more documentaries than anything. Nice. I love documentaries. But I just always loved learning shit. But he used to make us go home and write reports on it. But it was theater, for me. Seeing Alice in Wonderland on stage as a kid and just wanted to be part of that magic. And then because we didn't have television at home, we wrote plays at home. There's 6 of us. So we'd write them and perform them in the living room and invite friends over and neighbors, that kind of thing. And charge money, quarter or whatever the hell it was. And then school plays. I lived for theater growing up. Like that was, I played sports and all that other stuff, but it was theater for me.
Take your children to the theater, all of you. As far as acting, you're that actor that, as an actor myself, you're that actor that when we watch you perform, we really question our ability and our skill. Very specific. Really? Yes, very specifically. I'll tell you. I think I mentioned to you this before, but that the summit where we met was so busy, you probably don't remember. But specifically, there was a scene in Why Did I Get Married To, between you and Janet Jackson. And I rewound that scene so many times. And it makes you question, when I saw the ability and how present you were and where you was able to take that scene of that fight specifically, okay? I was like, it took my breath away. And as an actor, it makes you think like, can I ever get to that level? Can I ever be that good? So you're that type of actor for me, where it's like, and they're just a couple for me, like, Denzel and Meryl Streep. And there's certain scenes that they do, and not just because of their names, but there's certain scenes, right? And certain beats that they hit and expressions where I'm like, can I ever be that good? And you are that for me. When I watch you, you're so present in the scene. And, that scene, I cry every single time. Like I never get tired of, get tired of the emotion, never leaves me. And it was just so deep for me. If you guys think I'm kidding, watch Why Did I Get Married To? Watch the whole movie, but specifically the scene where Malik and Janet get into that huge fight. Like I felt all the pain that you were coming at her with. And please tell me about the scene where you had the bottle and you were throwing the water. I know that was ad-libbing. I know it was in my heart. I feel.
How did you know that was ad-libbing?
I just knew. I said, no one wrote this. No one wrote this. Please tell me I'm right.
You're right.
I'm not.
No, you said the word twice in his presence. I think there are certain, doesn't happen all the time. Fortunately, it doesn't happen enough at that level in terms of the types of characters, the types of moments, the type of truth you get to access because of the moment that's written. So a moment's written where a man who desperately loves his wife, and desperate is how he felt because he could not connect with her. And the irony is he's dating a woman who's a therapist so she could help everybody else but can't help herself. And I'm familiar with that dynamic. But most importantly, in the process, I always pray before those moments. I pray throughout, but specifically, like if I feel like I have to access something that is not in my everyday, then I ask for permission to be a vessel, for the truth. And that's it. It's a pretty simple prayer, but it's about allow me to be present. So first of all, I'll go off the set. Like not just like like that particular one, we shot that in Atlanta. Like I'll go down the block. We shot that in a private home. And the same thing was true in the first film, those two films, where the baby dies and they have an argument in the kitchen. Tyler loves to write these big, dramatic, which could sometimes be over the top or feel over the top depending upon who's doing it. But it really is just an allowance and a permission to be truthful and be a vessel. Because once you know the dialogue and you know the moment, then you have to stay present. And he was playing. Tyler wanted to play a very sort of tired trope of drunk anger, right? He's just their relationship isn't working out because but that's too cliche, right? And Brando says, see the cliche, you avoid it, right? And so for me, that's what it was. It's funny, the first person to actually give me feedback on that scene was Michael Jai Wright after he saw a screening of it, and he saw me. He was like, "Yo, that shit." And I have those moments with actors where I watch shit and I'm just like Heath Ledger and fucking Batman.
Yeah.
Like, and he was so fucking present. And that's the beautiful thing about the art, is that when you do have those opportunities to, number one, you have to always be present, but there are times when the level of it increases. So yeah, that moment, I think it was written where, he was drunk. That's the golf club scene, right? Where she smashes everything up with the golf club, right? And I think I came into the house. Right. I think I'm going because I forgot I'm with like Richard T. I forgot who I was with, what character I was with, but I just remember I was blessing her. That was it became holy water. So I don't know if you saw, but there's this cross. And that's what I was like, bringing God into it, really. Like in the moment, like, if this is where we are, then I bless you. That's so.
And that was one take, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
That was one take. Now, for that to be that present and deliver that type of performance, does it have to be a perfect, let's say a perfect storm? Like you need an actor opposite you that's just as amazing. You know what I mean? You need a great director. Is that a solo thing? Is that like a solo thing?
Well, none of it's solo because you didn't write the material. Start there. You didn't, unless you wrote it and you hired yourself. So, I mean, film is the ultimate collaborative process. And I think it's all the things working together, right? Having the prop in your hand, the environment, the person, the moment, It's harder if you aren't with as skilled players. And that could be anybody. Cameraman that's not, camera assistant is not in focus in that critical moment, or they missed it, or light went out, or whatever it might be. But no, I think it's a combination of things. But all of those things should feed the performance and the moment. What the director's asking of you, the environment, your wardrobe, the smells, the taste, the sounds, all of it. Because when you're present, all of that stuff somehow filters through and it comes out in a performance.
Okay. Who has had the most impact on your career that's no longer available to you? The most positive impact that's no longer available to
Wow,
you?
that's such a good question. I'm gonna steal that. That's a really good question. No one has ever asked that question. Um, hmm. Well, the first person that came to mind would have been Dawn Steele, who produced Cool Runnings. Um, for a young actor to not know if you're good enough to do a Hollywood picture, and to have a woman who used to run a studio, she ran Columbia Studios before she became independent producer, and do that screen test and the sound stage, old school. Like, we don't tests don't happen like that anymore, where they fly you in and they have a little set up in a stage, and there's a film crew there to film it. That's what screen tests used to be. Now it's like videotape yourself, put it up. It's kind of cheapened, but I remember the moment after my screen test and her pulling me to the side and whispering in my ear, "You got the part." And early on, she was helpful. But the other person would be my mother, who passed away last year in April. She was my biggest fan.
That's recent.
Yeah, she was my biggest fan. But I mean, shit, man. There's so many now. James M. May just passed away. Although we hadn't spoken in a number of years, in my 20s, especially in my early 30s, he was very, very impactful in my life. But there's so many friends, so much lost and death in the last couple of years. So the list is a lot longer.
That's been happening on my end too. I'm like, who passed away? Are you kidding me? I was just talking to them. It's becoming so common now. And I'm like, is it my age? Because this is the age where we lose people, or is it the environment? I don't know what it is, but it has been happening more often. It's taking me back to my Bronx days, right? Have you ever hated the business? Like hated it? Like I'm done.
All the time.
Really? What makes you feel that way?
I feel that way right now.
Really?
Yeah.
No way.
Well, because when you say the business, I'm in different businesses, right? So from real estate, like you said, cannabis. I've been in marketing. When we had the summit, I was with my marketing company. I've been in music, tech. So I just think our business is like being a parent in some ways. It's like it's the world's most thankless fucking job. It's like you raise these people to turn into teenagers and tell you to kiss their ass.
Yeah, that's true.
But I love you, but fuck you. No, I think that the biggest issue I've always had with the industry is very personal, and it's because I'm a boss. I'm a leader, I'm a chief, I'm a visionary. I was a vice president of an organization before I jumped into Hollywood and became, I will say this, God bless the dead, Andre Harrell. I remember when I got New York on the cover, and I was shooting Law and Order at the same time. So we broke for lunch, and I had to go into one of the producers' offices to audition for New York Undercover. Which actually, when I think about it now, that's so special. I didn't fucking know. All I knew was I was shooting Law and Order. We're at Chelsea Piers. They're like, oh, and there's the same casting director from Cool Runnings that cast me in New York Undercover, Jackie Brown. And it's very unusual to be shooting a show, go on a lunch break in the producer's office on that same show and audition for another show they're doing. It hasn't happened since. And certainly didn't happen before that. So, but the biggest issue for me is lack of control of your destiny, right? Like I've been doing this 30 years. You know me. You want to talk to me about these roles that other people wrote, produced, and owned the IP. So the things that have most impacted my life, I haven't been in control of. I hate that. But I've also parallel have been working for the independents. So having these other businesses, whether it's been a restaurant, all these things I've done have been about independence. And after 30 years, I'm 54 years old now. So for me, like that feeling is more acute than anything. And truth be told, I had open heart surgery in August. Yes, mi amor.
What?
Es la verdad. Sí, I did. And so, you know, there's certain things in life that happen. I got shot at 15. I've had open heart surgery at 53, a month before my 54th birthday. And these moments just clarify things for you. And so I use hate loosely. I don't hate the business. The business has been very good to me. I love the business, actually. What I hate is how people behave. And the behavior could be ego driven, fear based, lack of research. Like I've worked on shows with producers who are younger than me, have no idea who I am or what I did.
Wow.
And it's a surprise if you're walking down the street that people know who you are because they don't.
Wow.
Facts.
So that takes us into, you ventured into directing. Is that the boss in you? Like, I want to be in control of
Well,
this?
it's not so much I want to be in control, but I'm a visionary. So you have to be clear about who you are. I love acting, but the dream as a kid was I want to do that, and I've done it. You know, a lot of folks don't realize I've actually been a series lead in 14 shows. So whether they have been, a pilot, 6 episodes, 12 episodes, 10 episodes, 22, 2 seasons, 4 seasons, whatever, 1 season. It's like it becomes like Groundhog Day after a while. Especially you mentioned Meryl Streep or Denzel. And it's a weird thing because I don't believe there's an actor that's better than me. Like I don't look at actors and go, can I ever do that? I'm like, where's my opportunity to do that?
Wow.
There's not an actor that has ever lived that I have looked at that I'm like, I can't do that. Daniel Day-Lewis, Meryl, anybody.
Wow.
I believe I can do it all. And because there's not a limit to the gift in that way. Like as a singer, I know I can't sing in 5 octaves. I'm not Mariah. Like I don't have to be. I can work within what I do. And tone, control, all those things, right, can work for me. Acting wise, I don't feel that way. And there's a level of, I won't say frustration, but it's the conflict between being the boss, so create your own shit. So I did Harlem to Hollywood, which was my one-man show, where I play like 20 characters. That's my mic drop. And the whole world hasn't seen it yet. There've been a few audiences lucky enough, and I've been fortunate enough to do it. I'm going to continue to do it. That's the thing that, the way you felt about that one scene in the movie, then you watch 2 hours of what I've written, where I'm playing guitar. It's my music, it's my poetry, it's the character work, shit no one has ever seen because no one has ever written it for me.
Yeah.
But I had to write it, right? And that's that's where I feel the most gratification as an artist, because it's a full, complete dream fulfilled.
Mhm.
You conceive it, you write it, you produce it, you mount it, you do it.
Mhm.
As opposed to receiving a script that you read, oh, this is amazing, because that happens, you know,
Mhm.
like something recently to play opposite Rachel Weisz, which didn't go my way. But it's rare that I get material that I'm like, yo, this shit, because the character haven't played. I can go to places that hopefully make people feel the way you felt. But more importantly, I get to experience creatively there. So directing has always been part of the dream. It's been what I've done in different capacities throughout, whether it's in theater or web series or, you know, short fashion films or short films or whatever it's been, music videos. Um, but what's happened for me over the last, it's been increasing, but over the last year especially, I created something called a real estate mixtape, which is a doc series on real estate development, intended to, number one, pull the veil back for the
Mhm.
public on how the hell a city's built,
Mhm.
doing it, who owns it. Like, you from the Bronx, I'm from the Bronx. Like, you know, we didn't grow up with an awareness of who the fuck built this shit that we live in. Like,
Mhm.
who pays for it, who
Right.
designs it, who, we know construction workers, maybe we know, yeah, my uncle's a construction worker, you know, like a broker, maybe.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
most of us didn't know developers or the bankers or the politicians or the land use, any of that stuff. So being in the world of film, being in the world of real estate, I realized that you know, people that look like me and you don't have access to that process in either one of these.
Right.
So the real estate mixtape is an opportunity for me to tell stories on film, create content, but also do real estate deals and educate. And
Mhm.
this particular project, I've edited as well. So in the process of editing, especially, you're really controlling the vision. And as
Mhm.
a visionary, that shit is important.
Mhm.
And as a director, you're controlling everything, not controlling, but you're holding the vision for an entire narrative, every aspect of it. And that's a lot more challenging. It's a lot more gratifying.
Mhm.
Um, Plus, I like to hire people. I see
Mhm.
someone like yourself who's been, you know, working at it for a long time, to be in a position to give you a shot. If that's still your dream, you haven't fulfilled it. And I love acting and I love actors. And part of it is you get to act through actors, which is it's like producing music, where you get to perform through an artist, where you hear things, you see things, you feel things, you see what they're doing, you tweak it. Like, give me that. I want to feel this from that moment. I want to see that. I
Mhm.
want this color, that shade, that temperature, that whatever it might be.
Mhm.
Now I can tell the whole picture the way I want. So it's just become, I'm a lot more passionate. I was having a conversation with my agent, my manager last week. I was like, bro, I'm
Mhm.
really struggling in that, you know, to turn down things, to say no. Just every part of me isn't saying yes.
Mhm. And how do
So
you talk, speaking about not directing and casting and working with actors, for people who want to know, what do you look for in an actor?
truth,
Okay.
truth. Tell me the truth. Like, to many, to a large degree, acting is not that hard,
Mm.
because you shouldn't be acting.
Mm. There it is.
You should be. So what you felt from that movie that you said, like, I wasn't acting. I'm
Mhm.
being, I'm in the moment, present.
Mhm.
And if you're open, then things will pass through you.
Mhm.
Um, And that's true for any creative endeavor. So
But
for
when
me,
you
it's the
say
truth. It's like, can you tell the truth? There's other things too. Do you look the part? Do you feel the part? Right? All that stuff. But a lot of people have trouble getting to the truth. I've sat in on a lot of auditions for like network shows and stuff. Sometimes I sit in. I'm like, you can see why a lot of people don't work.
Why is that?
They can't tell the truth.
Ah.
Then the other thing is like actors get so concerned about, well, I didn't get it because it just wasn't yours. What's for you won't go past you.
You hear that? I love that. That's
So
right.
like
That
this Rachel Weisz thing, right? It was a big brouhaha. It's for Amazon. You know, I had a trip planned to Dubai,
mm,
and it comes up, and I'm like, it's the same dates. I was like, look, I have this trip, and they're like, okay, well, what does that mean? You're not interested? I was like, no, I think the writing's amazing, and it's the first thing. It was December. So there were a few things I did get excited about last year, and it's a couple of things I actually didn't end up doing. But this was like, it was amazing.
mm.
And I would have not gone to Dubai. But Dubai was set, my dates were set, tickets are bought, all that shit. Um, and they keep checking, like, yo, are you still available on these days? Because it's looking good. They, 2 weeks later, they still want to know that you're still available. And we're telling them just to make an offer. Hold tight. So I'm supposed to leave like in a couple of days. And like midnight the night before or something, they made an offer to another actor. And I called my agent and she was like, I don't know what happened. I thought this thing was a done deal and blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day,
Mhm.
I don't own it. I didn't write it. I'm not producing it. It ain't mine. I go to Dubai. I had an amazing time. I went there for business on some boss shit.
Mhm.
We were there to do business deals, right? And as a result of that trip, I have funding for some projects
Nice.
that I'm directing, right? And so that's the tension. As my lady likes to say, she looks at me, she's like, it feels like you're in turmoil. I'm like, that's a great word. There is, yeah, because I've been doing this thing for 30 years. I did my first film in 1989. I've made a good living for a long time. It's not that I will stop doing it, but I have to do this. And in Hollywood, there's still so many obstacles. A lot of obstacles you might feel as an actor, they
Mm.
put those same obstacles in front of me as a director.
Mm.
It's not so easy just to like get a shot. You have to, shadow directors. If you're an actor on a show, well, we can't give it to you first season. We got to wait till second season. How many times I've heard that shit? You do 14 series and you have producers telling you that shit over and over and over and over again. Nah, you got to wait. Fuck that. So I go and shoot my own shit.
That's my motto. That's my motto. Fuck that. That's my motto. Fuck that. I'm gonna do it myself.
Yeah. There's other people that's trying to like stand in the way of what God has for you. Nah.
So tell us who the actor is that got it so we don't watch. No, I'm just kidding. I'm
No,
just
I
kidding.
don't know. No,
Just,
whoever it is, it was theirs. They deserve it.
right. Absolutely. So
Yeah.
speaking of,
And I just want to make this last point. Like,
okay,
if
please.
you work and like, it has nothing to do with my ability to tell the truth.
Mm-hmm.
But whoever the vision, it could be the producer. And a lot of times you don't know. Like, director could have been like, that's my guy. But
Mm-hmm.
there's a producer that's like, nah, I got an arrangement with this person. We need to put that person. That kind of shit happens all the time. So you can't be tripping
Yeah.
over that.
I auditioned for a great would have been my most notable role thus far, opposite Kate Beckinsale, right? And Brian Cox. And I'm like, yeah, this is it. And they were like, I auditioned. They loved self-tape. And then it was like, it was for one role. And then it was like, no, 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 self-tape for this other role. They want you for this role. Went in, met with the director. Okay. Big deal. Big deal.
Who
Right.
was the director?
Catherine Hardwick.
Okay.
Twilight. She did the Twilight.
Mhm.
So great, wonderful. She was like, I loved you. I loved this self-tape. I even love what you wore. I didn't get the part. I didn't get the part. Got the call back, got the 2 roles to read for. I didn't met the director, lovely woman. I didn't get the part. Would have been my biggest thing. Opposite Kate Beckinsale. This was it for me. This was it after all these years. I didn't get the part. I'm not gonna lie, it was like a shotgun blast because I felt like I was this close, right? Especially after meeting with the director. But I had to come back to reality. It wasn't for me. And whoever got it, it was her turn and her thing. Picked myself up, continued writing, right? Because I feel like you. I don't like being my destiny. I don't like my destiny being in someone else's hands. And I'm like, Jen, you're a writer. You can act, keep
And
pushing.
you're funny. You're good.
Thank you. So I was like, but it was hard. I was like, so close. Okay, next time, but closer and closer. Okay. I wanted to talk to you about a little bit of controversy amongst actors, right? There's like this beef brewing, or I don't know if social media makes it worse, but British actors versus Black American actors. What do you think that divide is about?
Well,
Why?
it's like this. It's like if you talk like this naturally, it's just what you do. You know what I mean? If you were born in the UK, you're raised on American cinema and television. So it's what you watch, it's what you learn, it's what you dream about. You see this, you're like, I want to be that. Right? So the minute you can sound like this all of a sudden, oh my fucking God, he's amazing. It's like that. It's like on and off. It's not a problem for him. As a Black person, you know what I mean? And the first time I do this, all Black people like to say is you sound just like the other guy, Idris. It's not just Idris. You go to the UK, guess what? They all sound like this, or a version of it. It's, it's what it is. So it's not, it's like, did you go to RADA, Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts? Did you do that? Did you go to NYU, Tish? You know what I mean? Carnegie Mellon? No. So there's this perception that if you're Black and American, you don't have the capability to do this sort of thing. It's not real. It's not true. And this is what I mean. Who's writing this for me? I have to write it.
Right.
Can't wait.
Right.
Can't wait. You know what I mean? So that's a lot of it. A lot of it is these dudes, and they've told me, Idris, Michael Ward, Damson Idris, like they like, yo, bro, we grew up watching you. The first time Idris Elba ever saw me, he was trying to get into a club in New York, his DJ days. And he didn't have a collared shirt. He was with a girl. She happened to have a men's shirt. She told him, hey, put this on. They put their bags on a SUV and they hear, choo-choo. It's my car. I come, and he's like, yo, Malik Yoba, Idris Elba. Wow. For him, it was an omen. True story.
Wow.
In fact, he told that story when we did Why Did I Get Married, the first one.
Mhm.
And he had just done Daddy's Little Girl. And Tyler did this like talk show thing
Mhm.
where he was interviewing all the actors from his 2 movies.
Mhm.
And it just told that story. But I hear this from a bunch of British actors, Australian actors, same thing. They've grown up watching American actors. And so because they can do Americans and different versions of Americans, oftentimes, some better than others, that's a lot of it. And a lot of it is because they are typically trained in the theater and they've
Mm.
gone through, especially if you've gone through the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts in London, that kind of thing. There's just more respect, and the same is true New York theater actors versus LA actors. So there's this sort of bias you know, toward the pedigree. Are you a real actor? Are you really, you know, are you really acting? Because you do that ghetto thing really well, or whatever it is, right? So that's a lot of it. I think that's a lot of it. So again, I just go back to what's for you ain't going to go past you. So,
True.
you know, but I'd love to go. I haven't worked in the UK, but I did a film for the BBC. We shot in Turks and Caicos though.
Mhm.
And I had these options, like how I could play the character because he was an expat living in Turks and Caicos. But we went with an American accent. But I tried different things for the director. I was like, he was like, no, I don't want it to, I want him to feel really different. Because, you know, Bill Nye, it was a bunch of Brits. Helena Bonham Carter was in it, Ralph Fiennes was in it. So they wanted this character to really not be like the rest of them. But it was an opportunity, you know what I mean? It's for like further career moves in the UK.
Now I have to see you in something with that accent. Now we have to see it.
I've done it. There's a film. What's this film called? Paradox. So I did this film called Paradox that's out there somewhere. You can find it.
Paradox.
Where I was like using the accent, but he was really he was fronting. So I didn't do it as well. Like you can hear, and then finally he gets busted. And that was great. The director was a Brit. He loved it. And it was just a choice I made. I just showed up and did it. And then when the guy gets found out for who he really is, that we made it a moment like, wait a minute. I heard something, and then I get busted and I have to use my American accent.
Well, I got to see that movie now. So do you think it's a bias or they're better trained?
I think it could be a little bit of both.
Okay.
But I don't know. It's like, I don't fucking know. I don't feel that way. I mean, I see it, but it's always been that way to the beginning of film. You know, Vivian Leigh was a British actress, and you know, I mean, all these guys, they, you know, this is what they dreamt of. Right. Hollywood was this shiny thing over there that everybody wanted to be a part of.
Over there. So let me ask you, I want to rewind a little bit. You said you had open heart surgery. I'm glad it all worked out. I'm glad you're still here with us and healthy and great. Why did you choose not to talk about it on social media?
Oh, I did.
Oh, you did?
You just missed
it. Why did I miss that?
That just proves that everybody doesn't see everything on our social. Okay. Oh, I've been open about it. In fact, I've been very open and yeah, because it's important. I had no idea. My parents had the surgery. My sister had a stent put in when she was 41. I eat well, work out 4 times a week. Like, I was like, oh, in fact, I have a friend. He would post all these pictures of him cooking, like frying shit and like bacon and cheese. And I'm like, bro, arteries are going to be clogged. Meanwhile, and that dude's stomach's out to here. Meanwhile, I'm the one in April started feeling what I thought was heartburn. And I was actually working on The Last OG. And I left set, took a bike ride to the park on the way back home. Felt a burning sensation. Thought it was because I had eaten a spicy chicken sandwich, and thought it was that. Long story short, months of tests, blood work, stool work revealed that I had blocked arteries. I ultimately had an angiogram, and that revealed it, or actually a CT scan. They do an angiogram. They're like, you have blockage, sir. We need to admit you now. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. Yeah, it was crazy because you'd walk, you'd feel this burning sensation, like right in your heart chakra. Sex, working out. When I couldn't masturbate, I realized I had a serious problem.
You're like, that's it. I gotta get
like, nah.
You're like, oh, now it's a problem. I couldn't breathe. That's okay. I couldn't run up the stairs. That's okay. I can't have sex. That's a problem.
Can't have sex with myself. No, but in all seriousness, so if anybody has heart disease in their family and you have a just pre what is it called? Precondition.
Mhm.
Um, um, please go get checked. Make sure when you do your blood work that you insist that they check for lipoprotein, LIPO protein, little a, which in brackets, or C-reactive protein. Those are indicators to let you know if your protein levels are high,
Mhm.
there's a high probability that you have some blockages, some disease throughout your system. So I happen to have it here, but it's
Mhm.
literally throughout the system. It could have been in my, carotid artery, which they check for, and they check. And what's crazy is you do your yearly physical and you get checked for your cholesterol levels, and they can come back within the normal range. Well, the reality is 70% of people who have heart disease or heart attacks test within the normal acceptable cholesterol levels. But the normal cholesterol that they check for isn't what you need to be checking for. You need to be checked for the other stuff. And most places will not do it unless you insist on it.
Right.
So I was I believe, like most things I go through in life, I go through them so I can tell people about it.
Mm. That okay. That makes sense for my life too. Because I always have a story. My block stars over here. I always have a story that's something I went through that was crazy, and I want to share so people know how I handled it and moved on from it. Okay, so social media. What do you feel? I have my own opinions, but how do you feel about what I call Insta actors? Meaning someone has a huge following, and beyond Instagram, now they're being cast by major directors, right? And I'm like, I've been directing 15 years. Yeah, but this girl has 15,000 followers. Sorry. How do you feel about Insta actors, and how would you handle being on set with one of them? Because you know what they come with.
Hey, look, if they're good, look again, what's for you won't go past you, right? So each era has the thing that made it easier for those that come from another era. Personally, I'm in an interesting place, right? So I have 264,000 followers on, say, Instagram. Does that mean only 264,000 people actually have watched me do what I do? Absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
It's been in the millions.
Mm-hmm.
If Instagram started with New York Undercover, as a for instance, I'd have 20 million followers right now. And
Correct.
so I have to contend with that from an ego perspective. You got to contend with it from uh, public perception perspective, from a business perspective, and back to the presence, right? I think that through all this, we're using technology to have this conversation. We're not in the same room.
Mm-hmm.
We'll put this on a platform. All these things have been made easier, even for you to have a voice because of technology.
Right.
But if all this goes away, and all the labels go away, who are we essentially as a being?
Mm-hmm.
That's what's really important.
Very.
Not getting caught up in who had the opportunity, didn't have the opportunity, but your essential being. Who are you?
Mm-hmm.
What's important? What are you contributing? Right? What's the conversation between here and here about your purpose, your mission? You know what I mean? And back to the boss mentality. I'm clear I was not here to be an employee. I can be an employee sometimes,
Right.
but that's not my makeup, right? And so back to who am I?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a servant of the Almighty first and foremost. I don't always lead with that, but
Mm-hmm.
everything that I do, the conference you came to,
Mm-hmm.
what was that about? That actually was conceived of right after my character was killed off of Empire.
Wow. Wow. That was the motivation. Please tell us
Not the
why.
motivation. No, well, see, here's the thing. We started Iconic 32 in December of 2013
Mm-hmm.
as a marketing company, essentially, experiential events company that was using pop culture to promote social good.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, Empire was maybe like the 11th show, 12th show, something like that,
Mm-hmm.
that I signed up to do as a series regular. Um, and other than New York Undercover, it's rare for me to be in a show with a diverse cast.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes, I've been the only black dude in a show,
Mm-hmm.
or whether it was Steve, whether it was Defying Gravity. I mean, so many alphas, so many, and it's been frustrating in my career where most people aren't strategists. People
Mm-hmm.
kind of do their thing often in a silo, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so even on New York Undercover, we had music, we had the fashion, we had cops, we had young people, a fatherhood. Those were themes
Mm-hmm.
that you literally could have built marketing strategies around each theme to target different audiences to maximize the opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So even on a show like New York Undercover, I put together a marketing uh, package called the Protect and Serve Tour, where we would have used artists from the show that performed on the show
Mm-hmm.
to anchor concerts in their hometown. We
Mm-hmm.
would travel East Coast, West. We'd start on the West Coast, like in the winter, and go to the East Coast by the summer. We'd
Mm-hmm.
chase the sun, basically. Um, and you would stop and you do these concerts and you invite community groups in that work with law enforcement or crime prevention. And you
Mm-hmm.
would create this movement that was driven by the television show to
Mm-hmm.
do merchandise. You never saw a New York Undercover t-shirt. You never saw a hat. You never saw a billboard. You never saw any of that shit. Think
Right.
about it. You never saw a billboard for New York Undercover. Ever. They didn't make them. You could go to a Fox affiliate in another city and you walk in the hallways, there'd be no artwork in the hallways. You see Party of Five, you would see Full House, all the other Fox shows, even syndicated shows. They
Mm-hmm.
would show commercials for the Super Bowl. During the Super Bowl, they would show commercials for reruns of Full House and not New York Undercover during the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're the talent and you see these missed opportunities and you're creative like me, you're like, I got to do something about this shit. So what can we do to maximize the exposure?
Mm-hmm.
So subsequent shows, I would have a similar approach. I would talk to the marketing department or sales department or talk to advertise. They're not used to that shit. What actors are like all up in the business side of shit? They're
Right.
like,
How dare you?
they're like, I mean, here's a quick little story. When I did Why Did I Get Married, the second one, the scene right before my character gets killed,
Mm-hmm.
the holding where we were before we shot it, where they had the makeup and for your viewers or whatever who don't
Mm-hmm.
know what holding is, it was inside an ad agency. So I walk in, Tyler's setting up the shot,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm talking with the crew and whoever's there, and I'm like, yo, what is this place? Someone said it's an ad agency. I was like, word? There's checks in here. I'm gonna get them. So I started walking around while we're waiting to shoot, and there's a conference room and there's a meeting going on, and they see me and they're like, "Oh, come sit down." So I sit down. I started contributing to the meeting. It was a food company. Grace Foods was pitching this ad agency, or the ad agency was pitching them so they could be the agency of record.
Mm-hmm.
But when I looked at the presentation, I saw that the demographic and psychographic information that they had up was exactly the same audience that supports not just Tyler's films, but the plays that he had been touring with. Because I had been touring in that same market for like a decade. And I
Mm-hmm.
was always trying to bring brands into that space for sponsorship.
Mm-hmm.
So here I am shooting this man's movie. He built his career on the strength of these traveling shows, serving the exact same community that this food company is trying to target. And so I contributed to the meeting in a meaningful way where they were like, "How long are you in town?" I was like, "I'm here for another 2 weeks." They were like, "We need to meet with you." That one meeting led to years of work in marketing and advertising as a result, creating content. I ended up working for a bunch of different brands. And that led me to creating the marketing company. So by the time I got booked in Empire,
Mm-hmm.
I said, um, we have a show that's dealing with a woman, a formerly incarcerated woman, a
Mm-hmm.
bipolar son. We're taking a company public, so that's business. You
Mm-hmm.
have the fashion, you have the music that's going to live on the show and in the real world, and you have a gay son. And you have this opportunity again to build strategy around each one of these. So before we even shot the pilot, just by me reading the script, I put together a proposal. And I met with the audience before we shot the pilot. And I met with audience development person at Fox and was like, I didn't want another squandered opportunity. I wanted to be on a show where they were maximizing who they had on their team to make sure we had success. That you had the business stories run, the fashion, the music, the mental health advocacy work, the LGBT. There were writers that were part, and then I met with the writers' room. The show got picked up. So they could get to know you, they could write for your character, and I present like, so by the way, guys, this is what I'm doing. They're like, oh, you know, we love when actors, you know, also have other businesses, blah, blah, blah. So around that time, my thing was Michael Brown was killed. It was so 2014, right? I was in St. Louis setting up a screening of the second episode of Empire to do as a fundraiser for Urban League for this program they had called Save Our Sons, which was to create jobs for unemployed or underemployed individuals, for 500 of them. I was hoping that Fox would support because this was all in the plan. Right. But it was one of those things that the audience development person never really followed up. So I was like, fuck it, I'm going to do it myself. On my own dime, on my days off, I would fly from Chicago to St. Louis and I would work with Urban League on these community initiatives around healing. It was while I was in St. Louis, Lee Daniels calls me and says, Malik, we're going to have to kill your character. And I'm like, yo, word? You know where I am right now? No. And I tell him where I am and what I'm doing. And this is how I wanted to use the show to leverage for the social good. That's what the Iconic 32 was all about. Pop culture, social good. This is before Trump became president, before every celebrity decided it was their turn to now protest in the streets. Think about where we were in 2013, 2014, 2015. You didn't have all these athletes and rap. Where was, you know, go down the list. Everybody you saw protesting George Floyd being killed, they weren't out there. Getting, you know, Fat Joe showed up to the thing you at because he's that dude, right? He's the guy. If I text him right now, I'm like, yo, he'll show up. A lot of other folks don't.
And I know Joe from the neighborhood. He knows me from way back. So he knows all the craziness I was into. Joe is that guy.
Yeah, he's that dude. That's why he was there. Right.
Now, do you think that you were killed off the show because you were becoming too controversial?
First of all, I don't spend a whole lot of time thinking about what other people are thinking about if they didn't tell me.
Ooh, y'all hear that? YouTube streets. I love that.
The fuck is that value? Like, you're gonna waste time and energy trying to figure out what's for you won't go past you. The whole time I was doing that show, when we did the pilot, it was amazing. You have to remember, Taraji had 2 TV shows before that. She was not the star of any of them. Terrence hadn't been the lead. Lee had never done a series before. Danny Strong had experience as an actor, and he'd written some stuff. But while we were shooting, there were a lot of questions whether or not people thought this would work. And they would often lean on me because I had done so much television. And I would say to people, we created the DNA for this show 20 years ago. It's the same elements. The public has been dying for some primetime shit with Black people that's hood. I thought we were doing like The Wire or Sopranos. I thought we were doing like serious drama. And we were basically doing All My Children. As the scripts would come out, the shit was more and more soapy. You're like, so
That's what lost me, by the way. I loved Empire in the beginning. I'm gonna confess, I loved it, and then after I was like, he's getting kidnapped. And it did become very Days of Our Lives. All my children. I was like, no, bring it back, but it never came back.
Well, it was never there in the beginning. That was never the intention. So I'm thinking we're doing serious drama, and it became all this other shit. And then once it blows, everybody's a genius. We knew this shit would work. I can tell you the fucking premiere night in LA, all the execs from Fox, a lot of them were there from the days of New York Undercover. What do you think? I'm like, you ain't got nothing to worry about. This is just gonna work. Really? You think so? Yeah, it's gonna work. So going through that experience on that show where intuitively I felt something ain't right. Instinctive. I was just like, I hear people talking, I hear them saying the mouth is moving, but what's coming out feels a little fucking suspect. I couldn't put my finger on it. For the life of me, I was like, why do I feel this way? So when I got that call, I was like, okay. All right. I was like, because mind you, 2 weeks prior, the 10th episode comes out. We only did 12 episodes the first season. I read the script and I'm like, where are we going with this? Because it looks like Vernon's being like boxed out a little. They're like, no, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. This is the showrunner. And she's like, no, don't worry about it. Lucius is going to alienate everybody. Vernon's going to save the day. Don't worry about it. 2 weeks later. So when he called, I was like, yo, y'all can do whatever you want, bro. This is your show. Y'all ain't writing shit for me anyway. I had to write the fucking bio for the character. By the second or third episode, I'm like, who is this guy? In fact, when I first read the script, I didn't even see the character. I was reading for the Lucius character that Terrence played. My agent sent it to me 8 months or so before it was even going into production, just to see if I was interested. I was like, oh, this could be really cool. So it comes back around. Taraji was cast. Terrence was cast. I was in LA doing a film, working with a young actor that looked like he could have been Terrence's son, green eye kid, or whatever color the eyes those are. And I was like, yo, I hear they're doing this show and they're hiring sons. I think you'd be great. I had an audition at the Fox studio while I was doing that movie. I run into Lee Daniels' sister, Leah, who was part of the casting team on Cool Runnings. And she's like, I was like, yo, I heard your brother's doing the show. I'm working with this actor right now. I think he'd be great. She was like, I don't know about him, but I just sent an appointment to your agents for this. I was like, what? Like, what? What role? She was like, don't worry, it's in there. So I'm still trying to push this other kid. I read the script. The Vernon character didn't have much in the pilot. And so I auditioned with whatever it was. And Lee was like, I don't even know why they make you audition for this shit. Like, it should just be an offer. But, they're making me do this. And don't worry, the other actors that are begging me for this role, but you're my guy. I want you to be the guy, blah, 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 blah. I do it, audition, and they're like, well, we don't see his charisma enough. And I'm saying to them, I was the number one on the call sheet, led a show on the same fucking network, same executives are here. They have higher level jobs now, saying you don't see my charisma when I helped build this motherfucker. When we started on New York Undercover, Fox was not considered a full-fledged network. You had to have 13 hours of original programming to be a network. Fox had 9. Everything else was reruns. You could travel the country. Fox wasn't available in every market if you didn't have cable. We helped build that motherfucker. So I say I hate the business. It's that bullshit. And then they go, well, it's our fault because we didn't really write much for you. So we're going to write a monologue. We're going to send it to you. We want you to come back and audition. So I've led a series on your network. And I've certainly done other things for Fox from that time. The show Thief was a Fox studio show, which we did a season of. And there's probably some other things in between. But I'm being asked to audition again because they don't see charisma because they never wrote it. But I have a reel and it's me. And at that point, like 20, 25 years in the game, but I did it. So that's the part that I'm talking about. That's like, really? Directors have to go through other shit, but it ain't that. I'll jump through more hoops now because I'm not known as a director. But that's going to change soon too. So I say all of that and give you all of that backstory to know when that happened, they never used a marketing plan. They told me the character was going to save the day. He gets killed off. And it's just mad disrespectful. And even like my last day on set, they were like, so we understand you want to direct. Because I came into the show, mind you, every show, maybe 2 shows after New York Undercover, I try to get producer credit on everything. And your agents will tell you, don't push for that. Get on the show first, then get in, then patience. I'm like, so I've done that many times. And so I at least go in saying, as long as I get my quote, if I can help with the marketing and I can direct, and I don't want to be number 1 on the call sheet because honestly, I don't want to work that much. Like, I don't want to, doing episodic 1-hour television, you have no life for 10 months of the year. You get paid really well, but it's long hours. And I've been doing this a long time. If I can get these other things going, I'm good. So I got my quote. I thought I was going to do marketing. And I was like, look, I can direct. So I meet with them and they're like, so we understand you want to direct. So, we'd love to have you come back next season, blah, 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 blah. Did you ever see my name as a director on Empire?
No.
Yeah. So having that experience where you enter it with so much grace, gratitude, appreciation, willingness, love. This is what I'm going to bring to you. And folks are doing all kinds of other nefarious shit around you.
Mm-hmm.
So energetically, I knew something was up. So, which brings me back to the Pop Culture Summit.
Mm-hmm.
That was an idea that popped in my head literally probably a week or so after all this went down. I had my company and I was like, I'm just going to lean into my boss shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, let's create the Pop Culture Summit. My partner was like, what is that? I was like, basically, it's going to be like TED Talks meets like Essence Music Fest or some shit. And we're going to have these speakers, but they're not going to talk for 20 minutes. They're going to talk for 7 minutes because 7 is my lucky number. And they're going to do short. We're going to call them Pop Talks. They're going to do their little thing. And Pop Talks was, well, person of purpose. And it was like this whole, and you experienced it. So we had the people speak in the morning, and then you got a chance to work with them, whether it was photography, filmmaking, art, music, whatever it was, technology, fashion. And then we present at the end. And so, and unfortunately, that business went away. I would say creative differences with my partner. No, motherfucker was taking money. So that's what happened there. You're muted.
I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. But
so we're gonna see another one because it was really dope.
It's something. It was my idea. I certainly could do it again. I've just been doing other things. But no, the best comment I heard from a young student that said, if school was like this, I would never miss school.
Ever. That is correct. I agree 100%. I agree 100%. Let me ask you, since we were talking about social media and Insta actors, what do you think about cancel culture? Because it seems to be like, a lot of people tread lightly now because of cancel culture. Do you think it's necessary to keep people safe, or do you think it's being weaponized? I think it's ridiculous, but what do you think about it?
I think it was definitely weaponized. One sec, sorry.
Okay.
Um, I just think we're living in very perilous times.
Mm-hmm.
And I think social media is a double-edged sword.
Yep.
There's a lot of evil that can come from it, but there's a lot of good that comes from it. And I think that we have a lot of low vibrational human beings on the planet right now. And oftentimes they could be the loudest. And those of us that resonate deeper at a higher vibration, we have a responsibility to shine bright and be louder in the way that we can. And everyone's strength isn't about being loud. There are those powerful introverts that are quiet but really powerful and do their thing, and they're not about broadcasting for the world. And I think that's important because there's a lot of people out here, like our society leans toward extroverts. Who's the loudest? Who's the biggest? Who has the most followers? Who's blah, blah, blah. But that quiet motherfucker in the corner is the motherfucker that actually created Instagram.
Right. The very quiet.
Right, that we weren't paying attention to in high school. And it's like we definitely living in a world of revenge of the nerds. And it's almost like, because there's social scientists and psychologists and all that shit that work with them when they come up with these algorithms to understand habits. Cancel culture is a result of that. I did a film in Korea in 2017. None of the big stars in Korea have social media for that very reason. None of them. One wrong move, it's a wrap. It's too precarious. So they, just like they had 5G in 2017 when I was over there, they had been dealing with cancel culture long before us in the way that we know it now through social media, especially. But, it's my 2 cents.
I appreciate your 2 cents. Now, do you have to go, or do I have you for longer? Do you have to go now? You have to go now. You have to go.
We got a couple more minutes, but I do have some stuff I have to do. Yes.
Okay, so I want to leave my audience with, what is it that you said exactly? What's for you?
Won't go past you.
Okay.
Here's 3 little nuggets.
Yes, please leave us with 3 nuggets before you go.
What's for you won't go past you. While you're waiting, keep creating.
Yes.
You ain't been nobody till you've been yourself.
Ooh. Oh, there's a resolution for you.
Build your own generator so when they turn off the power, you still have lights. And that one is tattooed right here. Where's my camera? See that?
Nice. Build your own generator so when they turn the power off, you still have lights.
When they turn off the power, you still have lights. My father always said that. And I live by that. So build your own shit. It ain't easy. It's not for everyone. You don't always know where the next anything is coming from. But anyone who has ever paid attention to anyone who has been successful, the one thing all successful people have in common is you don't fucking give up. And sometimes that means changing course, pivoting, pulling back, settling down for a minute, reconfiguring. But we need people who are aligned with their purpose and a clear, and hopefully they're here to spread love and some light. Because after that Zoom call I just got off about, that's supposed to be about taking care of some kids in a school and all the adults and their egos, and I'm like, we gotta let the kids know this is happening and they need to blow this shit up, because there's all kinds of can't take these adults. Anyway, I hope this was helpful. So good to see you. You look amazing. And to all the motherfuckers that's out there trying to like holler at you, I don't blame you, but be appropriate.
You hear that? All right. So thank you, Malik Yoba, the one and only. Thank you for seeing the light in me. Okay. Thank you for
Always.
seeing and inviting me out into your circle, into the summit. It was very, very special for me. And, you know, how you treated me and respected me is very, very important to me. You know, we talk a lot about people that do wrong. I like talking about people that did me right. So thank you for that.
I did not do you right, baby.
You did me so right. You know, I love you.
We're going to keep it PG, baby.
We're going to keep it PG. And
No,
I'm going to
no, but you said something. I just want to acknowledge also, in all seriousness, at the top, you know, it's tough being a woman. It's tough being an attractive woman. So thank you for you. And I'm watching you. I see you creating and you doing your own shit. Even this, you know, you had somebody make that thing for you in the background.
I made it.
Or you did it. Oh, yeah. Yeah. God bless you. How's your daughter?
She's amazing.
Is she out there with you?
No, she moved. She left me. She left the state, but she's with her fiance and she's doing good. My heart is full when I think about her. She's doing good.
You get to edit this, right? You can cut out this personal shit at the end.
We can leave it. We can leave it. It's all good.
All right. Good. Well, God bless you, Mama. We'll catch up.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, baby.
Bye.